What's up, profitable stylist? Here we go. We talking about toppers. What are toppers? What are they for? Who are they for? Where do they go? Where do they live in our world? This is what we got today. It's going to be a fun one. Look at you. You got the maintenance card over there for the toppers, huh?
Wash, care, style.
As always, that's the maintenance. Maintenance is always the most important thing. You can have, I was told this a long time ago. You can have a crappy service, but as long as you can style it good and they can take care of it good, it's the greatest thing ever. On the reverse, you could be the best person to ever install it, but if they can't take care of it and you can't style it, it don't matter how good you are at putting them in. It's going to be a garbage service.
True, true. Hey, did you know I use the same coffee cup every week, even though we got a bunch back there? I was teaching a class Monday, and this girl comes in and she's like, "Oh, that's the studio." I was teaching a class, and I was like, "I'm in the studio." And I did a studio, and then I went to make a coffee. She goes, "That's the coffee cup."
That's the cup.
This cup is
I
becoming
know.
famous.
I realize I
So,
keep using the same water bottle when I make my water. I keep using the same water. Today I got a regular bottle, but yeah, it's funny how that goes.
so the beaded topper. I mean, I know we've been diving down hair extensions, but there's those few times when hair extensions just isn't enough because somebody's a little too thin on the top of their head. And for a long time, it was like such a huge jump. If you couldn't put extensions up in this area, although I've done it many times, I had this one lady who said, Bernard, can you put extensions up here? And I said, well, the best ones for that are going to be a keratin bond or a K-tip hair extension.
Mm.
And I'm going to have to cut them into like halves or thirds or maybe fours and put little tiny ones. But you're going to see them. And she begged me 6, 8 months, I swear, every time she come get her color each month. Miss Cindy was her name. Her she was a nurse. Her son was a doctor. So she just thought, she should be doing the diagnosing, not me. She's in the medical field. Just do what she asks. And at some point, I thought, you know what? I said, Miss Cindy, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be $1,800, and you might not like it, and you might want me to take it out the next day or 3 days later, and I'm okay with that. And that's going to be another $250 to remove because it's going to be hard to get them out when we first put them in. But at this point, I'm going to be that hairdresser that's not going to anymore tell you what's good for your hair because I've told you already, and you want to give it a try. And you know what? You're never going to know if you don't try it. So I'm going to say, you know what? I will go ahead and do it. I'll put extensions all over the top of your head. It's going to be so difficult because you got to look way down. I got to be like working up with my shoulders up in the air, trying to get on top of your head, put your chair as low as I can, get you to squat down. And it's so freaking tedious. I'm not going to love it. You're not. It's going to be a little painful, and then you're going to have a hard time hiding them because you don't have enough hair around them. She said, "I'm going to tease it. I'll hide them. I just want more hair up there. Let's give it a try."
Mm.
She did. She was a good sport. She wore it for about 2 weeks. So then she's like, then she said my most favorite words ever.
You're right.
Bernard, you were right. I said, well, you know what? It's okay. You know what? You've been on and off asking for this for a couple of years. Last 6 months, you've been pushing me hard. What the heck? I'm going to give it a try. But she had the money. It didn't matter. So it wasn't like, most people I'm thinking they're going to be mad that they wasted the money. But for her, no. So we have a beaded topper now, which we'll go into in here in a second. But before the beaded topper, and even before regular toppers, what did we have for the top of the head? When somebody started losing their hair, you had a wig, was one of the big
That was pretty
changes.
much it.
And then hair replacement was that obscure thing that we don't have a lot of places that do hair replacement. We always did it. So I knew it was an option, but it was a pretty big jump because you shave a portion of the head, which we still do a lot of for men and women. But it's like when you get so thin on top that hair on top, you're not really showing anybody anyway. You're wearing a hat, you're wearing a beanie, you're wearing some kind of flower cap when you go to sleep at night. You're doing something to hide the thin hair on top. But when you get to that point, you don't want it to show anymore. Extensions won't work. Some of us hairdressers only do hair extensions. So what do you do next? And the toppers that came out was a great thing nationwide. I mean, people are making videos and how to put them on, how to take them off. But the huge problem for us as hairdressers, as a business making money, is it sells like a wig. You sell it once, you make money once, and you're done. Now, maybe they come back in a year, 6 months, 2 years, and buy another one. But it's not part of our weekly or monthly making money off the client or with the client. And so it's not really a great business for the hairdresser. It's just another retail item when you sell a wig or a topper. So then, and truthfully, the client has to know how to put it on, how to take it off, how to style it. And they're not great at it, but they give it a try. Whereas with something that attaches to the top of the head, like hair replacement, at least then you made money putting it on and taking it off. And you made money blow drying and styling the hair and coloring and everything that came with regular hair services plus hair replacement fees. But they had the head shave situation, which was a hard sell. But once somebody did it, they were in it for a long time. So this beaded topper comes along about a year or two ago. And I've got one here we'll talk about in a minute. But it just changed everything because you don't have to shave the head. I mean, you just started kind of using them a little bit. What do you think?
It's as an entry into it, I find that that's the easiest way to get into it because it's non-committal in such a way that that is the natural progression of the order. People realize they have to shave their heads. They have to, forever be stuck maintaining this. There's a lot of things. When you've got these little beads, all you're doing is pulling it through and attaching it to the hair. If you're already used to doing wefts or if you're already used to doing strands, then you're already used to working with the beads. So it's not as scary to start getting clients and to start talking about clients to start putting these in because all you're doing is pulling right through those little beads. It's been changing. It's been it's been very life changing and it's been a lot of fun and it's been very interesting to be able to approach this level of services that we weren't able to offer before.
And it's the same bead that we use for the weft. I hate the way we name the bead, the size of the beads. They're both small names. I feel like I'm at Starbucks ordering a coffee, and you've got to use certain words. And with us, it's like we've got that Starbucks language. The micro bead is the small bead for the strands, and the small bead is the larger bead for the weft and for the beaded topper. So like at Starbucks, I always thought it was hilarious that a tall is a small and a grande is a medium and a venti is a large. So it's like the word. Did you know that?
Mrs. Swan, Bernard, did you ever watch In Living Color?
No, I didn't.
You got to YouTube Mrs. Swan Goes to Starbucks. It's like exactly what you're talking about. It's hilarious. Comic gold.
Tall be a small, and so for our beads, a small is the large bead. All our beads are very small. So my favorite is grande though, because grande just means a little bigger than the small. It's not really grande. It's just a little bigger.
So the onstage beads, you're specifically talking about the brand, the onstage beads, and those onstage beads, even the small ones for the wefts, are smaller than the average bead on the market for weft and hand-tied wefts in general.
So when you order our beaded strands, our beaded wefts, our beaded topper, every single pack of hair, whether it's strands, wefts, or beaded topper, comes with something. This is the brochure for the beaded topper I have laying here. And it's a little more extensive. It's got some care instructions that you can hand to the client. Every pack of extensions, hand it to the client. That way they kind of know how to take care of their hair. It's a good little start. The topper comes with a pack of beads. It comes in a plastic bag like that. I've already taken it out. It's got a little hair net over it. So I'm going to start to, oh goodness, this one's tied. Is it tied? Yeah, I think it's tied. I'm going to untie it. We're going to get in there. Usually it's not tied in a knot and it comes off pretty easy, but, oh, it's coming out. It wasn't a knot. That's amazing.
It was just rolled up real good.
Yeah, it was just rolled up pretty well. Usually it unrolls, but it looked like it was in a knot. So this is like an unboxing, huh? So as I take it out, there's a little clear plastic shield to kind of hold the shape of that beaded topper, and then a tag. There's a tag in the back, and it's just poked through the hole. It's not really knotted on there, so you can literally just kind of usually just pull it out. Let me just see. I don't want to break Yeah, it just kind of pulls out because that knot's just not, where's that knot? Just knotted through the hole. And the base here is silicone. So it's kind of stretchy. If I grab it here, I can kind of show you.
Oh,
See
it's
it.
got some elasticity to it. Yeah.
It's got a lot of elasticity to it. And then I tell people it's kind of shaped like an egg. It's a little wider. I don't know if I have enough screen. It's a
You're
little
like a kid on Christmas morning.
huh?
You're like a kid on Christmas morning.
I know it's a little wider on one end, and a little skinnier on the other, kind of like an egg. And the wider section is made for the front because most ladies' hairlines are a little wider than most guys who recede a little quicker. But you can spin it around and use the skinny side if you want to move the part to the other side. So this one, if I were to put it on, it's going to be a right part because when I lift it back and that silicone part here that makes it look invisible from the top side is over the right. I had hair in my mouth. Is over the right eye. The part over the right eye is called a right part. But I think that I say a lot more in this intro video that you've got queued up that we use for when people want to check out our education. They're thinking about getting involved in it. Do you want to play that yet, or you have anything to say first?
Yeah.
Because I think that gives a little bit more detail. I mean, I'm trying to do it here, but we have a much more professionally done video. Let me know if
so
y'all.
I'm going to play it with the sound.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Bernard and thank you for coming to this beaded topper education. Let's talk about some of the differences in this and other beaded or toppers out in the world today. I know topper is a very common used term for a
Is it loud enough?
thing that goes on top of mostly women's heads with holes to integrate hair. The big difference there is most of them are put on with clips, so you sell that like a retail item, make money one time. And the client doesn't go to sleep with hair on their head. So the two big advantages of the beaded topper is one, it stays on for about a month, and so the client gets to have hair 24 hours a day. Big plus for them. But then the big benefit for you is you get paid to take it off and put it back on. And the beads are very inexpensive and it only takes about an hour to do. So we're going to go into more detail about exactly what this beaded topper is all about, but I wanted to show you just a little something real quick because this is just a little bit of an intro. There are some reinforced sections on there that the hair comes through that helps hold it on a little bit better. And the topper also comes with this invisible part that can be on either side or the middle, depending on how you order it. It goes on super fast, super easy, the first time as well as the taking out and putting it back in. The color can be customized. You can root the hair if you want to. There are a couple of tools that we're going to go over in more detail later also, and they both look kind of similar, but this is a two-sided tool that holds these beads on. I don't know if you notice, they don't just fall off because they have a spring-loaded piece in there. And then a little tiny arm that folds here for during the application when you're going to pull it through some of the holes here or through the bead. And then at some point during the application, you're going to use this little drawing tool, just a little hook, to pull some hairs through the holes in the topper so you can integrate the client's hair with this. Welcome to the education. Let's go into application and all the other details about how to order in the next video.
So the couple of questions what I want to bring up, because I feel like this gets asked a lot. Not sure how, not sure if it's going to be able to be seen very well on screen here. But when you're looking at the webbing, there are a couple of darker, grayer spots on the webbing. That's the anchor points of the topper. And that's how, because a lot of people ask, how is this going to be worn for multiple weeks on end? So those anchor points is where you're drawing the hair through, and that's what's locking the topper down onto the head. It's tight when you start getting half of these anchor points in there. It's tight. It's not falling out.
I tell you what really confused me at first is it just you and I on the screen now? You can get rid of that other thing if you want to make our good-looking faces much bigger for everybody to see. I'm just kidding. So I think what you're saying is super important, and I got to remember recently a couple of classes I taught, you could see the aha moments because people wonder, now it makes sense to put something on a head and secure it around the edges. How do you secure it in the middle? And that was something that was, I don't know, revolutionary to me when the guy came from another country to teach me, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. Okay, so this whole system is secured on the front edge at first, but then it's flipped over and you're kind of rolling it down as you secure it to the head. I mean, we go down each side of the part first and then flip it sideways and do underneath, underneath, underneath. And so that's how it's done all the way through the top. And each secure bead that you put in is under the topper, so you don't even see them in the hair. It's not like you have beads showing on the outside that you have to comb or brush through. They're underneath, and they're very comfortable because of the way they're put in. I even took a few notes here as I was watching my own video. I was like, oh, I forgot about some of these important points. I mean, you're wearing, or they're wearing, the client's wearing this thing for forever, for all day, for all night, for 24 hours a day. So they are living in their hair. I mean, I know it's probably cheaper to buy a wig or a hairpiece or a clip-in topper. Yes, it is less expensive, and it's harder. It's more work. It's asking a client to be a hairdresser in some cases because they have to put that thing. You shouldn't sleep in those other kind, so you have to put it on and take it off. Some people are okay with that. Some people, that's what they want. Some people want to save the money, and it does. Here's one of the things that it does. We'll talk about the pros and cons of both. It does save on wear and tear when you're taking whatever you're putting on your head off at night. But do you really want to take your hair off at night in front of somebody who likes your hair? You know, I'm a man and I love a lot of hair on. I'm watching that newest Viking series right now that came out after the main Viking ones, the one that came out on Netflix. And I'm looking at the main character girl, and she's a pretty girl, but I look at her high hairline and I'm thinking, as a hairdresser, hairstylist, I look at her part, it's really sparse. And then when she turns around, she's got this mountain of hair. I'm like, yeah, they added hair. She doesn't have that much hair for a ponytail that sits like 3 or 4 inches wide on her back, some sloppy braid that would happen in the Viking times. But as a guy who loves hair, when she turns around, she instantly became more sexy to me. I was like, oh my God, I love that big, thick, messy blonde hair that I couldn't even get my hand around if I tried to grab it. But I'm knowing it's add-on hair. But to me, it's like, okay, what do? Take that off at night because you want to save it, save money, save wear and tear? Maybe that's you. But most people want to look better all the time, not just during the day. And maybe if you're single and you're not spending the night in the same house with the person that you're trying to impress or the work people maybe you can go home, take off your hair, take off your lashes, take off everything that enhances your beauty, and you go to sleep maybe more comfortably. I don't know. I would be more comfortable knowing I look better all day, all night. Plus, you don't have to put it on, take it off. So to me, I sell it in a different way. I don't sell it like, well, we could help you save money, save wear and tear, save this. I sell it in a way where I'm going to help you look better, like you were restored completely day and night. Come see me once a month. We take it off, put it back on, fix it. Sure, when you shampoo, blow dry, and style your hair, however often you do it, it could probably be once a week. It's going to be harder because you have more hair. It's going to be harder, but that is the price you pay to have more hair and look better. So there are plus and minuses here, and having more hair and having it all day and night and it not falling off when you go swimming, water skiing, snow skiing, whatever you do, going on a Ferris wheel, that hair is staying on your head all the time. And that's the big plus. So any big pluses or minuses you think?
So there's a number of things that I want to ask about because these are common questions that I get asked about. So okay. I really want you to weigh in on a lot of this. So yeah, the longevity of wearing it and the comfort of wearing it, it is your own hair being threaded through the topper itself. So it's, as far as a comfort standpoint goes, it's laying flat onto your head. The beads are so small, you really don't feel them. You really, really don't, because that's one of the questions that is asked is, if I'm going to sleep in this thing, is it going to hurt? No, it's not going to hurt because of the beads. They're so small and your hair is pulled through this thing. And as far as, again, with the moving of it, it's anchored in. So a lot of other concerns is about what happens when they're going about their day in their lives and the wind blows, or they turn the wrong way, or the hair gets caught in the strap of their purse or something. Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit because it's yanking on your head. No different than it would if it was your natural hair getting caught in something, right?
Right.
If the wind blows,
And
yeah,
all
the
those
top is
other
gonna blow, but it's not
hair
going to go
yanking.
flapping off your head. You're not going to look like you're going up the stairs on Air Force One and half your head's over here and you're over there.
I don't know who you're talking about,
Talking about a
but
president.
that shall not be named. Right. And all those other hair yanking activities that people do, like CrossFit. Right. I mean, I've got this big golden doodle, and I like to put him in the truck with me to go pick up my son from school. And he loves to put his head out the window, and his hair's blowing in the wind. And I'm like, all right, get your head out the window. It's too cold today. I'm going to roll the window up. But he doesn't understand English. And so I'm rolling it up, looking in the mirror because he's in the back seat. He's too big to sit in the passenger seat. And I roll it up. I look, and he's out. So I roll it up the rest of the way, thinking he's out. And then I hear, I look real quick, and he's got long hair. So that flopping hair, I think a little hair from his ear got caught up in the window. If that happens to you, because your hair is like blowing in the wind and we get a little in the window, you don't notice it right away. But right, you pull, it's like, so I had to roll that window down real quick.
So yeah, that's one of the things I get asked a lot about. The other thing I get asked a lot about is how hot or how itchy or how hot does it get underneath the webbing. Now these webbings, though,
there's holes. There's so many holes.
Yeah,
I mean, you can basically see through it.
And it breathes. This thing breathes way more. Like what can you say about in comparison? Because a lot of the other wigs and toppers that I'm familiar with, the stitching on there, the webbing on there is very. It's almost like a, how you call those, pantyhose?
So yeah, let me mention that. So it is more like pantyhose. It's called M mesh, or there's a few. M mesh is one company's, but it's a poly mesh, and some of them are full silicone, like our parting. So that's the ones that are hot. They make the whole base out of silicone or PU, which is polyurethane, or some kind of skin-based material to make the scalp look real. But when you do that over the whole thing, that allows a surface for you to bond it or glue it or have to shave the head to put it on. But that's when it becomes a little bit more hot and less breathable. So what we're doing is we're saying order the system for the client's part where they part the hair, a right part, a left part, or a center part. And let's just put that real natural looking scalp area just where the part is. And the rest of it is wide open and breathable. But it also allows you to not necessarily match the color exactly perfect if you're worried about it, because you use the needle and pull the client's hair through those holes, which makes it even more lightweight and breathable because their hair is not down flat on the head. It's through the holes, which makes it way more comfortable, pulls the color all together. And it just, I don't know, it's human hair. So human hair is porous, so the air is going to flow through a little bit better than a wig that is synthetic. And I know, I mean, we're talking about fibers of hair and there's space between them, but space between them is one thing, but synthetic hair, each fiber is bigger, not porous, no air goes through it, no water goes through it. So it's going to be hotter by nature. When it lays down, there's going to be more air trapped in there. So a synthetic wig or hairpiece or anything is always going to be warmer and hotter because it's bigger and no air is going through it, as opposed to human hair, which is always going to be lighter, cuticle layer. The cuticle itself makes the hair away from each other because of that rough surface on it. It just makes each hair stand away from each other a little bit more than synthetic. That's going to lay flatter and smoother. And then because it's porous, it's always going to grab a little water in the air. And I know this is a really weird analogy, but having a little humidity is always going to cool you off more. The military, when they were in Saudi Arabia, a friend of mine was there. He said one of the ways they cooled their water bottles before they drank them is they would wet, hopefully a clean sock. They would wet a sock and put the water bottle in the sock and just hang it on the side, the military vehicle or the tank, and just the air blowing through the desert across the wet sock would cool their water bottle. I'm sure it wasn't like a refrigerator, but it was cooler than just grabbing the water bottle normally. So when your human hair is holding a little moisture in the air, that's going to be a little cooling also compared to synthetic. So I'm just kind of throwing a bunch of little benefits to having human hair. Not to mention it's easier to shampoo, blow dry, style, flat iron, curl and iron. It just works like real hair.
I got to sidebar you 1 second. The
Uh-oh.
left side, just tap down the left side of your hair. It's sticking up in such a way it looks like a horns. Yeah,
Well,
tap
you
that
got me in
side
this
down.
little bitty picture. I can't really see myself real
Tap down the
well.
right side too a
Oh,
little bit. Just a little, yeah, right there. Just tap it down. When you was putting the
I'm
when you
going.
was putting the weft on, it just pulled out those two
Yeah,
pieces of hair,
I'm
man, and it
leaving it
was
up.
hilarious looking. All right. So then, what was some of the benefits you was gonna about to say? Because I got
Oh,
more questions
okay.
for you too.
Okay, so you can integrate the color. I already said that. These are some of the notes I took while I was watching my own video just now. But one of the things that I still want to mention about the beads is that the beads are not like the old-fashioned bead. It's an aluminum soft metal bead, so we don't recommend you reusing it because it holds really good one time, maybe twice, but they're so cheap. They're 18 cents a piece. You buy a little jar of 100 of them for $18 and put new beads on. The very first beads that came out had no threads, no silicone, years and years ago, but they would break and cut hair. So this is a lot like that bead improved. It was a harder metal, and then they would put threads in them, which would cut hair. We have no threads in ours, but our bead inside corner edge and the outside corner edge has been rounded and smoothed off so it doesn't cut or damage the hair. Then our tool is proprietary to our bead so that when it squishes that bead, it puts this S-shaped curve. It puts one crimp and two crimps together. And so when it goes together, it makes that hair go through that bead in an S shape that holds really well because of the softness of the metal. Just soft enough to hold the hair really well, but soft enough to not break the hair. And we went through a lot of beads to get this figured out because the threads on the inside held really well, but they cut hair. So then a lot of companies went to silicone, and that would seem like a great idea. It squeezed the water out so you wouldn't have the smelly beaded, like, eye-tips have that smell that comes with them because it has that air trapped in there. The silicone started to push a lot of the water out, but silicone never really wants to stay inside the bead very well. So it rolls out the inside of the bead at some point, and it's flexible. So the hair's holding in there, but it moves. And so water slowly gets in there as you got that movement going on. It's kind of pumping water through there. And then it eventually slides out or the silicone comes out altogether. Not to mention the beads are so large with all the other companies that they're just more uncomfortable, more visible. And for some reason, they're doing painted beads. So most of the beads, the paint is scratching off the bead, starting to show a bright silver on it. And so you've got a lot of problems happening between the bright silver, the size of it, the silicone coming out. So we went back to the original bead and perfected that. The right metal, right crimp curve, softening the corners, and the color is baked all the way through the aluminum. So I haven't ever seen a bead chip, but if it does chip, it's the same color through and through. But the bead's hidden, so it wouldn't even matter if it was bright red. It's underneath the hair. It's really, I am like a kid on Christmas morning. This is one of the most, I've been doing this hair thing for 30 years. And I was just thinking, you know what? Nothing new is going to be invented in my lifetime. I just better just learn how to be happy with what we have. And a few new things came out in the very beginning, but it's been 30 years. And in the last 15 or so, nothing new's come out. I'm just going to be happy with what I'm doing and get a little better at it. And then this beaded technique came out. And I was like, we still, not me, but somebody still makes newer, better stuff. This is so freaking exciting. It's the most ridiculously fast and easy. Like this beaded topper goes on now, not for me yet, because I'm not behind the chair every day, but I watch some of my stylists that have been doing this and they're getting better and better at it. They put this thing on in like 20 minutes or less. It's so stupid fast. I mean, we feel guilty charging $1,500 because it's so
No,
easy.
it goes on fast because it has an organized pattern for installation. And when you
Yeah.
get practiced in it, see, to me, speed is a convenience. I don't think
I
it's a
do
matter
agree.
of, I
I
don't know,
do agree.
that's a whole nother topic that we got to get
No,
into
I
one day.
agree. I think that's a good topic to talk about right now because I actually had I was teaching just a men's haircut class Monday to my own staff, and a couple of little speed techniques I've developed over the years I'm showing. And my son, 25 years old, he says, "Dad, I can't use those techniques. I'm already too fast cutting hair." I said, "What?" I said, "Wait, what?"
So where you
He
can't
said,
get faster.
"Well, no, he thinks like what I was just talking about. I was playing the devil's advocate for a minute. I agree with you. I think speed is a convenience and a skill and something people should pay for. Pay because I'm really good and really fast, and you get out quicker with the high quality instead of waiting 2 or 3 times as long because time is money these days. But he was under the impression, like, Dad, if I go any faster, I feel like I'm ripping them off, like I'm charging them too much for too little time. And I said, no, they're happy to get out. If you do the same good haircut or a better haircut and even faster, they're so happy to get out and have more time for their lunch break, more time for their phone call to their wife or girlfriend on these men's haircuts. They're not, or husband or boyfriend or whatever. They're happy to have more time. They're paying for the service or the skill. Not, and that's how it is with this beaded topper.
And if you're working at such a pace, whether you're fast or slow, if the person doesn't feel rushed and if the person doesn't feel dragged out, if they
That's
feel
true.
respected, that during the time, whatever amount of time they were there for, you were with them and you paid attention to them, and from start to finish,
Good
they are
point.
satisfied. I am of the opinion it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, if it's 50 minutes, if it's 5 hours.
I agree with what you're saying. I remember I hired a girl one time who said that in the men's barbershop that she went to work at, the owner said, you have to take 45 minutes to cut a men's hair because we charge this high price and it's a 45-minute experience for every single person. And I thought, you know what? That works fine for their business plan. I'm not going to knock them, but I would never want that business plan because I want to know that the better I get, the faster I'll get. So I'll be able to make more money faster and raise my prices. So I want to talk about the beaded weft strands and the topper in that light for a second. I think that the tape-in extension of our world became more popular than every other hair extension technique for a while because it was so fast and easy and a no-brainer. It was just freaking tape. And so I think hairdressers looked at it like, I can do that in like 30 minutes or less than an hour. I can put two pieces of tape together in 10 or 15 places and they have hair. Then the challenges came in with, the hair is too fine and thin, so it's breaking off the hair. When I go to redo them, because I sold them as they're reusable, it's a gooey, sticky mess. I hate pulling that old tape off. How do I get the goo out of the hair, put the new tape on? That's when the challenges came in. But for the most part, I think it spread across the world quickly because of the speed and the simplicity. And that's what we have in this. And the quality of hair wasn't always there. But with these beaded techniques, we now have no sticky, no gooey, no string, no tying, no tension. Even the newest hand-tied wefts, where they're hardly ever using hand-tied wefts anymore, but it's put up against the head and it's sewed in and it's so freaking tight. We're right back to the original problems of tension and pulling, which is not good for fine, thin hair. So our beaded strands, beaded wefts, beaded topper, they all put the bead in a little bit away from the head where there's no pulling or tension because there's no sewing, there's no gluing, there's no tying. Although our hair is made with a hand-tied method, the hair is hand-tied in too, so it's still hand-tied methods. But most people think the hand-tied extensions is all about because they put string and sew it in. That's not where the hand-tied is. The hand-tied is the name of the weft. It was made by hand. And then there's machine-made products, and ours is a hand-tied method, so just as good or better, but it's super fast and easy. No string, no sticky, no gooey, no tying. It's ridiculous.
But that brings me to another question. So I've seen toppers. I've seen different types of toppers, and they're okay. So there's two questions. One is the size of the base of the topper itself, but that's company to company, and that's size of the head and all that good stuff. But the common thing that I notice is that when I show people this topper, in comparison to other toppers that I've seen, the density, the amount of hair that's on there, why are toppers so sparse in general? Well, why is there not a lot of density on these topper pieces?
Well, that it's all an opinion. It's all an opinion on what the company thinks they should have. A lot of them are made with wefts. So they're wefts sewn to a piece, so they're too far apart. But I think that they're thinking that people are thin-haired and they just want a little bit more hair. That there's no good answer for that. It's just that each company makes them a different amount. And even in our own company, we struggled with that for a little while, trying to figure out what's the right amount of hair. And if you want to get really picky and wait a little time and special order, we can get you one with a little more hair, a little less. RJ is going to kill me for saying that because it goes into custom ordering. But we found
he loves
is
custom ordering.
we started with a bunch of different densities, and I've been doing hair replacement for 30 years. So I figured out the amount of hair that most people like when they're trying to get hair, a woman, on a woman's head. I mean, I've done it in the men's side too, but we're not selling those. We're selling the beaded topper for ladies' heads. And I try to take out a lot of the complication. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, I'm answering more than the density. The size, it's 5 inches by 6 inches. Most women go through something called female pattern baldness, and they're just losing hair in the top of their head. They have a lot of their hair here and here. So why cover everything with a wig when they still have hair on the sides and the back? So for $1,500 to $2,000, depending on the part of the country you're in and how you charge, because your expenses might be a little bit more, you're going to get this beaded topper put on a person's head, and it's going to be 5 inches by 6 inches. That's going to cover it. Now, listen, just because it's 5 by 6, it's not like, oh, I'm only going to put hair in this little circle here, because as you can see, when I put this on, I end up with hair all the way down in the sides. And hopefully I had some hair here also that's whatever length, but that all starts to blend in together. So you add more hair than just, look pretty good as a blonde, huh?
Blonde, huh? Sexy.
I think I have the complexion for this.
You could be
All
one
right.
of those, what do they call those hair bands? You could be like an 80s hairband.
Yeah. So I got a little squirrel. So we got the size. We've got to make it easy for hairdressers to start with, because that was one of the biggest problems in the hair replacement field was what size, what base, what shape, what hair length. I made a lot of things just standard. It's 5 by 6, so you never have to think about it. It's going to cover the top of most women's heads. And then the hair density is standard. It's just a standard density that works for most people. You can thin it out a little bit if you need to. You can't make it thicker necessarily. But then the hair length, it's 12 inches of hair. So from the base to the end of the hair, it's 12 inches. If you want to add more length on somebody, put more wefts or strands in the sides and add more length. But 12 inches of hair, as you can see, is enough to get started. It ends up going down into a little past the shoulder blade, and then you can add more, as if you have a client with hair that needs extensions now. So then you add extensions. So we have a lot of clients that do that. So as far as, I don't have a good answer for the density thing. It's just...
No, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good that's a pretty good explanation. And then the other thing that I get asked a lot about is how I can ask this. I think it's for everybody. Doesn't matter. Like if you have enough hair to get every other anchor, you know, because stylists look at these and they say, oh, I don't know if my client has enough hair through here or through here to get every single spot.
Question. Yeah, that is a good question. And there is a point where a client has too little hair to wear this beaded topper. Then we have one that's called a lace beaded topper, where they're almost bald on the front. So you tape with a very aggressive tape that lasts for like 3 or 4 weeks. Or you can use like a product that's super popular in the market right now. One's called Ghost Bond. One is called Great White. And you paint this white adhesive that dries clear and bond the front of the lace topper down. And then you can still bead the rest of it here and the rest of it through this area. So what you do is you actually bead the whole topper down, then pick up the front, paint your adhesive on the scalp, blow dry it a little, let it dry clear, and put the front down. Now, even the lace beaded topper has right behind the lace has a really thin silicone band that you can take what I did was I took a leather punch, went to Tractor Supply and bought a leather punch and punched a couple of holes in that band across the front and put a hole on top, 2 holes in a row, here, 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 and poked that needle through one hole, through the other hole, and beaded it down to a lady's hair. What that did was the lace front has more hair per square inch because there's no holes. So I was but had enough hair to bead it down. And this is what I told a couple of ladies, my hairdressers. I said, let's punch a few holes in there. They don't show if we decide to bond it down later, but let's punch a few holes and let's bead it down first because it's going to be less sloppy than adhesive, less aggressive. When you're pulling the adhesive off, sometimes you're pulling some hair through the lace, through the backside if you don't do it properly. So glues, adhesives, tapes are always going to be a little more aggressive, a little more wear and tear than a bead. So we try to bead down the lace topper across the front first. And if we can get that thing beaded down well, great. Now, what's the fear? Oh, I might lose some hair. Might damage what? The few hairs that you're not letting anybody see anyway because you're so thin. But let me go back to the standard beaded topper. Some people think that the client doesn't have enough hair to support the weight or the pull or in the bead. But when you put extensions in, the weight is pulling on the beads. So yes, you need enough hair in the right direction, the right angle, crimped really well to hold the weight of a beaded extension, strand or weft. But when you put a beaded topper on, the weight is here. The weight is on the head. So when you put beads in, all it's doing is kind of keeping it from moving around so much. So the only weight or damage that happens on a bead when it's on top is the pulling that you do as a client. When you're styling the hair, if you're pulling on it too much or shampooing it too aggressively, that's when the damage happens, or the hairdresser taking it off. So as long as you're being careful with the shampooing, the blow drying, the styling, because when it's wet, it's going to be a lot heavier because that's the downside of human hair. It absorbs water, so it's going to add a lot of weight to it. So you've got to get that weight out by towel drying gently, blow drying gently, taking a little, maybe holding it still so you're not pulling on your hair if you're on the thin side, getting it blow dried and styled. Yeah, a little more of a pain in the butt to get it blow dried and styled, but then the weight is on the head. And so when you're moving throughout the day, you've got so many beads, like you said, to anchor it. It's not pulling on any one or two spots. I have had hairdressers do it a little when they're first learning, pull it at a bad angle. They're pulling the hair straight up and squeezing the bead instead of in the direction the hair grows. And they get 2 or 3 beads really tight and all the rest loose. And the client feels it there. And they're like, I'm feeling a little pulling right here or right here. I tell the hairdresser, be honest with the client, hand your cell phone number out and say, call me. Listen, be honest. This is my first one. It shouldn't be painful at all. But I've only done it on a mannequin a few times, and she doesn't complain at all. But if I don't get all the beads kind of standardly secure in the same tightness, the tighter ones are going to pull a little bit. So let me know. I can always go in there and loosen up. Because the service happens so fast, it can take 10 minutes to pull out a few beads around the edge.
Yeah, that's true.
And open it up, fixed a couple of beads, put them back down, and I didn't have to shampoo, blow dry, style. Just take a few beads out, put a few beads back in. It's an easy learning curve. Don't expect to be perfectly great at it right at first, but worst case, they feel a little pain and you just fix it. Same thing with the strands or the wefts. So there's not like, if you mess up a keratin tip, although I love keratin tips, you're throwing it away. And that was a few bucks down the drain and you're buying a new one or the client's buying a new one. With these, you're using an 18-cent bead or 2 or 3. And for less than $1 plus your time, you're fixing it. So it's just, there's so many good, easy things to get into this that makes it almost a no-brainer.
So then the last thing that I got to question or to ask is, I think it's for everybody, but is there somebody where a topper would not be like, who would not be a good candidate for a topper?
I think you're right. It's for like 90, 95% of women who are thinning hair. It's not as much for men. And the only reason I say that is hair is hair. So you could put it on a man who is wearing their hair more like a 10 or 12-inch length.
Okay.
But most guys are shorter hairstyles like you and I. And the silicone base is a little thicker than the kind of base we would bond to a bald-headed man. Most men are losing so much hair, it's better to shave that little bit off and put a thin silicone skin-like base that's really close to the head so that when you do this, you can't see it, even if that is a silicone base. This base being, a couple of 16ths of an inch thicker, it's going to show on the front edge. So it's designed to go behind the front edge unless you're using the lace front. So most women, even if they're to the bald point, it's getting bonded in the front. So I guess the point where you couldn't use it on someone would be when a woman is let me show you. Let me grab this real quick.
Yeah, because you just made me think of another question. You just inspired another question out of me too.
This is the woman. Then it's not going to be. There's no hair to bond to. That's when you're going to use a hair replacement technique that you're completely taping a system on, or using some sort of glue, adhesive, or bond on the whole base of the system. And it's possible. We have some ladies that are completely bald. Universal or alopecia universal or alopecia totalis, where the whole head, no hair. We glue, bond. I hate to use the word glue, but I know most people do. So we use an adhesive on the whole head. Or some people are just bald on the top. Then you have to have a little bit of hair, but beads. It doesn't take much though.
You just reminded me.
What's that?
Another question that I get asked a lot is, when you're putting the topper on, are you replacing the person's hairline, or are you leaving it a little bit back where you can integrate some of their natural hair around the hairline, like especially through their bangs and through their framings?
Almost always leaving their natural hairline in the front, but you have to decide how much. I think that what I see we have a private Facebook group for people that we train, where they all post their before and after pictures, ask questions, and mostly post their challenges, their mistakes. Oh my God, I'm having trouble with this. And they help fix them. But the thing I see most commonly done wrong is that people put that front edge a little too far back. It still looks better than it did before. They just have to do a little more fancy styling to kind of hide the difference between so much thin hair and then the thick hair. So I say come closer to the front, push the envelope, and get it as close as you can. But definitely leave a little bit of the client's hair in the front. It's just a matter of how much you're comfortable with. And you get it a little wrong, you just adjust it a little, move it a little.
Yep.
The time flew.
I knew you were going to answer majority of the stuff I was going to say anyway, so I figured I'd just ask you and let you have at it, man. You are so excited.
Yeah, this was fun. I mean, I'm looking at the clock right now, and I'm like, it's almost an hour.
I know, right?
It felt like 5 minutes. You can tell this is one of my most exciting topics. And it's not just a beaded topper, though that's the newest product. The beaded weft and the beaded strands are just as amazing. And most of the time, we're putting all three on the same head.
Yeah, it is cool. That is one of the successes and one of the fun things that I've been having with the toppers, is that you can still... It goes right down to the parietal or to the round of the head, the curve, whatever. Everybody calls it something different, but it lives right there.
Yeah.
And that's always been no man's land. When we're putting bonds, toppers, strands, wefts, or not toppers, but wefts, strands, whatever, we're always putting it on the sides through here. We're always arguing about how do we put it through the top here. So being able to rest the topper on top of the head, and then you still got space and room to put in some strands in the front and put some wefts through the back, you can create a full look integrating all three systems. And it's just amazing. It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's not too difficult. If RJ could link some of the videos, I think it'd be great, because we talked a lot about beaded strands, beaded wefts, beaded toppers. We've got a couple of quick videos that if you want to look in the description below, or maybe it'll pop up on the screen here showing how a beaded strand goes in. I've got one that says this is not an eye tip. That's a really good video to go back and look at and see how our beaded strand is not. Most people just think, oh, just another eye tip. No, completely different than everyone else out there. And then our beaded weft, how we don't use strings. We got a beaded weft video that weft goes in less than 7 minutes. It's just stupid fast. And then some kind of videos that kind of pop through all the colors of the beaded topper. Not the one we just showed today, but there's another one that kind of pops through a lot of the colors, and a quick tutorial of me, or actually one of my stylists putting one on our old office manager, Amber, and we rooted it. That's the last thing I want to say. Human hair. We have select colors on the coloring that are designed for you to color and customize yourself. So you can highlight, low light the hair and change the color to look more natural or more realistic for your client. And if we link that video where it's going on Amber, you'll see where the brown is rooted. And I slowed the video down, one of my homemade videos. So as that topper is falling down, you see the beads underneath, and then boom, when it falls down, it's like, wow, it just disappears into the, the fact that it's not her hair disappears. The rooted topper blends in with the rooted hair of her hair. The blondes aren't even exactly the same, but they work. It works, and she looks a lot better, and she loved it.
Yeah, no, that was a great look. That really was a great look. That's
I'm
one of my
done.
more favorite ones.
I got to go breathe or eat or something.
No, it's all good. We're done. Guys, thank you all for watching. Hit us up in the comments like I say every week. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you.